Hi everyone, today we're going to be making pecan pie. We have a running theme this week for using pecans in our recipes. This is super easy to make, so don't be intimidated by it. It's really hard to mess up. It's just a few ingredients, I think only like 4 or 5 ingredients. Now what you see in this pie dish behind me is my homemade pie crust. If you use store-bought, that's perfectly fine. If you want to learn how to make homemade pie crust, I have a video on that I will link at the end of this video. So we're going to start. I'm just getting a glass bowl. I always mix mine up by hand. You could put your filling in a stand mixer or use an electric mixer, but when it comes time to put the pecans in, because you're using large pieces, pecan halves, you'll want to stir those in by hand, so I just do it by hand anyway. So I'm starting with 2 eggs. And I'm just going to beat those before I mix in my other ingredients. You don't have to. You could wait and pour in the rest of your liquid ingredients and mix it all together. I just find it a little bit easier this way. Now we're moving on to our next ingredient. So it calls for 1 cup of sugar. I'm going to be using 3/4 of a cup of Splenda, and then I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of regular sugar because for some reason Splenda, it causes things to bake up hard. So here I go with my 3/4 of a cup of that. If you're not using a sugar substitute, then it's just 1 cup of plain regular white sugar. And while you're mixing this up, you want to have your oven preheating to 350 degrees. And when I put mine in, my oven does pretty good about cooking things evenly. I've not had any issues with the edges of my pie crusts getting too brown. If that is an issue for you, or if you check on your pie about halfway through baking and it looks like your edges are getting too dark, you can take a little strip of tin foil and peel it off from the roll and then just fold it over the edges of your pie crust, and that'll help keep those from getting too dark. Or I know they make, I don't know if they have them at Dollar Tree or not, but I know sometimes at Walmart, I've seen them especially around the holidays, you can find these little pre-made tinfoil pie crust covers. And it just looks like a little ring of foil that you sit over top of it. So now I'm going in with corn syrup. That's our 3rd ingredient. And it calls for 1 cup of corn syrup. I have a 1/2 cup measuring cup in my hand, so you'll see me fill this twice. And if you're wanting to go completely sugar-free, I know on Pinterest I saw a recipe for making your own homemade sugar-free corn syrup. I have not tried it, so I don't know if it works just as well or not. But that is an option also if you wanted to get on there and look it up, or even you could just Google one. Sometime I plan on making a video of trying to make a sugar-free corn syrup and a sugar-free sweetened condensed milk. Alright, we're going with our last ingredient for the filling part of it, and that is 2 tablespoons of softened butter. And you just want softened, not melted. And And now we're gonna whisk this all together. Well, as soon as I get back to the camera, get you guys straightened up here. We're kind of at an angle. Okay, now we're back into it. Got the camera adjusted. So here I'm just going to try to move everything out of the way. Oh, I lied. There is one more ingredient, and that's going to be vanilla flavoring. And it's just 1 teaspoon of that. Now we're ready to whisk it together. And I'm just going to whisk it by hand. I got a metal egg whisk here. And what you're doing really when you're whisking, you want to get everything mixed together, but you want to take that 2 tablespoons of softened butter that's in there and just really try to break it up into smaller pieces. So then the next and last step is to pour in your pecans. And it is just 1 cup of pecans, but then I put about a half of a handful extra because we really like it. And then you're going to pour that into your pie crust, and it is super liquidy, so be careful whenever you're carrying this over to your oven and sitting it in there, because if you push it in on your rack too hard, it will spill over the side of it. And when you pull it out of the oven, it will still look pretty bubbly and liquidy, and it will kind of be puffed up in the middle like a dome. Don't poke it or try to smash it down or anything. Just pull it straight out of your oven and set it on top of the stove and just let it sit. And it will come down and deflate on its own, and set the jellied filling in the middle that looks liquidy when it comes out will set up. So there's my cup of pecans. I'm going to throw in a little bit extra. Stir this together, pour it into your pie crust, and this is going to bake at 350 for 1 hour. So set a timer. I would check it at about 40 minutes just to see how it's doing. You might want to check it at 30 for your crust itself. Make sure your edges aren't getting too brown. But that's all you do. I've never had a problem with this recipe not turning out. Even in this video, whenever I used the Splenda instead of the plain sugar, it turned out perfectly. So you're just going to bake it 1 hour, let it cool. It should sit and cool for probably 2 or 3 hours, and then you could either leave it out or put it in the fridge. We put ours in the fridge, but I know people that just leave it out on the counter. Either way is perfectly fine. So here you'll see me pick it up, and you'll see it kind of slosh back and forth a little bit. And that is it. You're finished. You have made pecan pie. If you guys try this and you like it, please let me know down in the description below. If you enjoy our videos, please like and subscribe and share with your friends so they can watch as well. And as always, thank you so much for watching our channel.